The new Barca star who will surprise everyone. Tchouaméni is leaving Real Madrid. The Saudis are ready to offer a mind-blowing sum for a Liverpool player. Alejandro Garnacho has found a new club. All this and much more in today's episode. If this video gets 500 thumbs up, it will motivate us to keep creating new content. So, enjoy watching and let's get started. What a night that was. What a Super Cup final we just witnessed. If, like us, you stayed up and glued yourself to the screen, you're probably still trying to process what you saw. And honestly, what we saw was just, I don't even know how to put it nicely. A disaster, yes. A complete and utter disaster from Real Madrid. Did you see that circus on the pitch? The merengues looked like they confused the Super Cup final with some kind of friendly beach game. And it would be one thing if the opponent was someone like, say, Albacete. But this was the final, a derby, with Barcelona on the other side of the pitch. Whatever was happening on that poor field in Saudi Arabia was just pure chaos, guys, especially in the first half. Now tell me, did anyone understand Carlo Ancelotti's brilliant plan for this match? Because I, for one, didn't. Not even a little bit. I got the impression that in the locker room, he told his players something along the lines of, "Alright guys, let's go out there, embarrass ourselves properly and head home. Oh, and don't forget to pick up some souvenirs on the way." Honestly, I can't think of any other explanation. And yet, it all started off so promisingly. Mbappé scored in the opening minutes. Finally, that omnipresent offside curse let him go. At that point, it seemed like all the cards were in Real's hands. Give the ball to Barca, sit back in defense and hit them on the counter-attack. A tried and true strategy that has worked many times before. But no, Madrid's defenders, apparently, decided that was too easy. And hey, the fans want a show, right? Well, they gave them a show, just with a giant minus sign in front of it. They practically rolled out the red carpet for Barca's forwards. Come on in, take whatever you want. And that brings us to the young genius, Lamine Yamal. What a player. I don't know what the kid eats for breakfast, but it's clearly something magical. This guy can single-handedly change the course of any match. Remember the Euro semi-final, where Spain played against France? The script was exactly the same. The French scored first, and the Spaniards looked like they were done for. But then, this young devil appeared and worked his magic. He equalized with a stunning shot, and from there, La Roja took off. The same thing happened in El Clásico. Real's early goal seemed to put Barca under pressure, but then Yamal scored, and everything changed. By halftime, Real Madrid had conceded a whole bag of goals, 4 to be exact, each one more beautiful than the last, each one a textbook example of how not to defend. It was a parade of helplessness, I swear. As for the second half, well, the fire seemed to fizzle out a bit. Sure, there was a ridiculous red card for Wojciech Szczęsny and a gorgeous free kick from Rodrigo, but overall, the spark was gone. Even with Barcelona down to 10 men, Real Madrid just couldn't find a way to unlock their defense. And Barca? They didn't even seem to be trying anymore. Why bother when everything was already clear? The final score? 5-2 in favor of Barcelona. By the way, Hansi Flick picked up his first trophy with the Blaugrana. So there you have it, folks. Some might call it a fluke, blame the poor pitch conditions, or come up with other excuses. But we all saw what really happened. This was a failure. Total and undeniable. And after witnessing this disaster, you can't help but wonder, what's next for Real Madrid after such a humiliating defeat? Share your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on in this situation? And how did you survive watching that match? Let's discuss. Have you heard the news about Vinicius Jr.'s latest idea to buy a football club? Following in the footsteps of Kylian Mbappé, who already got himself entangled in this business with his purchase of Caen, now Vinicius has decided he needs his own team too. Why not? He's got the money, so what's stopping him? It seems that football players these days are no longer content with just playing on the pitch. They're out here buying entire clubs. What has the world come to? So here's the story. While the Real Madrid management is scratching their heads trying to figure out how to handle their unpredictable Brazilian star, Vinicius appears to be laying the groundwork for his future. He probably realizes that a footballer's career is short, and it's about time to start thinking about life after retirement. And honestly, that's a pretty logical decision. But on the other hand, buying an entire football club isn't exactly like heading to the corner store for a loaf of bread, right? It's a risky endeavor. Then again, as we mentioned earlier, Mbappé already dipped his toe into this by buying the French club Caen, and he quickly found himself buried under a heap of criticism from fans. So, as you see, it's not as smooth and glamorous as it might seem. According to the press, specifically the folks at ESPN, Vinicius is eyeing a team from Portugal's second division. Of course, the name of the club is being kept under wraps. Not that we expected them to just hand over all the juicy details right away. Still, we can speculate. Something tells us that Vinicius is looking to resurrect a club with a rich history, restoring its former glory. And honestly, there aren't that many clubs like that. Personally, the first name that comes to mind is Paços de Ferreira. About 10 years ago, they were making waves in the top division, but now sadly, they've faded into obscurity. But hey, that's just a guess, nothing more. Let's also remember that buying a football club doesn't come cheap, does it? Mbappé, for example, could only afford such a luxury after signing his massive contract with PSG, where he was raking in hundreds of millions of euros a year. And N'Golo Kante, who, as we know, bought the Belgian club Excelsior Virton, only managed to do so after his move to Saudi Arabia. So why am I bringing this up? Well, maybe Vinicius also has his eyes set on the Middle East. To be honest, this theory doesn't seem too far-fetched. Recently, there's been a lot of buzz surrounding the Brazilian. At Real Madrid, oddly enough, he's beginning to feel more like a spare part, albeit an expensive one. And for Saudi clubs, splashing out record sums for players is no big deal. They're throwing money around left and right, and Vinicius will likely be offered conditions so lucrative that he simply can't refuse. Or at least, we can't imagine he'd say no. It looks like the Middle Eastern sheikhs are quietly but steadily luring global football stars to their league. That's what we think, and the league itself has made it no secret that they'll do whatever it takes to bring Vinicius aboard. As for the Brazilian, it doesn't look like he plans to stick around La Liga, or at least Spain, for much longer. His recent behavior says it all. Remember when he nearly got into a fight in the tunnel after the match against Mallorca? Sure, a fight didn't actually break out, but the very fact that it almost happened speaks volumes. Would a player who values his place on the team and his reputation act like that? Probably not. Sure, he might get away with it for a while, but patience only stretches so far. And with Vinicius, it seems like that patience is running thin. Honestly, we wouldn't be surprised one bit if Vinicius ends up in Saudi Arabia sooner or later. Or maybe he's just being reckless and doesn't yet realize how all these scandals and antics could destroy his career. But that seems unlikely. He's bound to have a team of advisors who'll steer him in the right direction. So, most likely, Vinicius already knows his future is secure, and while he's still in Spain, he feels free to act out a little. What do you think about all of this? Let us know in the comments, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So it seems like Barcelona isn't planning to sit idle this transfer window. According to Mundo Deportivo, the Catalans have come up with a concrete plan. They're seriously considering strengthening their attack. And not just for the short term, but with an eye on the future. We're not talking about another stopgap solution, but the acquisition of a versatile forward capable of tormenting opponents both through the center and on the wings. Remember how everyone was worried about Ansu Fati's injury and how Fermin Lopez had to step in on the left flank? Well, it looks like Barca has had enough of those makeshift fixes. Our star of the day, or rather the player catching the eye of the Spanish football giant, is none other than Alexander Isak from Newcastle. The Swedish forward is just 25 years old, making him a long-term investment for Barca, not just an emergency backup, especially when you consider that Lewandowski isn't exactly in his prime anymore. Isak has been absolutely lighting it up at Newcastle. He's scoring, combining, and causing chaos on the pitch. But as we all know, every rising star attracts the attention of Europe's biggest clubs. And that's where Barca comes in. Rumor has it that playing regularly in the Champions League could be a key factor for Isak. And here, with all due respect to Newcastle, Barca holds an obvious advantage. Here's another interesting twist. Barca is back to their one-to-one financial rule and is genuinely determined to strengthen their attack for the second half of the season. They're taking this very seriously. But what about Newcastle? Can you imagine how much of a blow losing Isak mid-season would be for them? Especially since they're pushing for a Champions League spot themselves. Yet, such is the life of a footballer. One day you're a hero at St. James's Park, and the next, you're stepping onto the Camp Nou pitch. On the other hand, how do you say no when Barcelona comes calling? One of the most storied clubs in the world. Let's be honest, Isak deserves to play in the Champions League, Plus, he's already got experience in La Liga from his time at Real Sociedad, so he might not mind returning to familiar territory. Newcastle would be in a tough spot if Barca goes all in. And for Isak, the decision won't be easy either. There's even talk that Newcastle might prefer to sell him to a club in another league rather than strengthen a direct competitor. And as we always say, money talks. Still, I find it hard to believe Isak would leave in January. But hey, never say never in football. Now over to you. What do you think about this scenario? Will Alexander Isak make the move to Barcelona, or will he stay and conquer England? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Darwin Núñez might be heading to Saudi Arabia. Yes, you heard that right. While we're debating whether he'll finally score from a prime position or miss the target again, Saudi club Al Hilal has reportedly set their sights on Darwin. And the most intriguing part? Rumor has it that Liverpool might actually be open to offers. So, where did this story even come from? According to insiders from Anfield Watch, the roots of this tale stretch straight to the heart of the Saudi Pro League. Al Hilal, as you probably know, isn't a club short on cash. They've got money like sand in the Sahara. And now, they've decided that Darwin Núñez is exactly what they need to strengthen their squad and, as they put it, enhance their global profile. Sounds a bit pretentious, sure, but the message is clear. They want something flashy and expensive. Now, here's the kicker, the price tag. Liverpool, according to those same sources, has slapped an £85 million price on Núñez. Let that number sink in. That's the same amount the Reds paid Benfica to bring him in. Essentially, they're telling the Saudis, if you want to play, you got to pay. Or rather, want Núñez, pay the full price. We're not here to take a loss. Let's be honest here. £85 million for Núñez at this moment is, well, bold. Sure, the guy's got talent, pace, strength, desire, it's all there. But when it comes to finishing, let's just say there's room for improvement. The stats aren't exactly jaw-dropping. 4 goals and 4 assists in 26 matches. That's not the level you'd expect from an £85 million striker, is it? Of course, some will say, give him time. He'll adapt and flourish. And there's some truth to that. Remember how he lit it up at Benfica under Jorge Jesus. And guess what? Jesus is now coaching Al Hilal. Coincidence? I don't think so. There's clearly a connection here. Maybe Jesus called up Al Hilal's bosses and said, guys, sign Núñez. I'll turn him into a superstar. It's not far-fetched, right? On the flip side, if Al Hilal is genuinely ready to drop £85 million, Liverpool has plenty to think about. Money is never unwelcome in football, especially when you're looking to strengthen the squad for new manager Arne Slot. Selling Núñez could pave the way for bringing in a more consistent and clinical striker. Plus, rumors suggest that Slot doesn't see Núñez as a guaranteed starter. So, here's the big question. What do you think, folks? Should Liverpool cash in on Núñez for that kind of money? Or should they give him another shot to prove himself in England? Could he shine in Saudi Arabia like Neymar, but without the injuries? Or is this just a rumor to drive up Darwin's price? Drop your thoughts in the comments. It'll be fascinating to see whose side you're on in this potential transfer saga. Manchester City has set aside the cash to try and snatch Aurelien Tchouaméni from Real Madrid. Of course, if the rumors are to be believed, we're talking about a lot of money. Well, we know how City operates, but the fact remains, Tchouaméni, who just yesterday seemed like a promising talent in Madrid, has suddenly become Guardiola's top target. Let's be honest here, Tchouaméni's season at Real Madrid has been, to put it mildly, inconsistent. Sometimes he looks decent in central midfield, and other times he's played in defense where he looks, well, let's just say, not like a fish in water. More like a hamster that's accidentally been dropped into an aquarium. And this back and forth, has planted a seed of doubt about his future at the Santiago Bernabeu. And now, Manchester City emerges on the horizon, and not just casually, but with a concrete financial offer. I wonder, did Pep personally call Perez? I can almost imagine the conversation. Florentino, my friend, listen, Tchouaméni seems a bit down over there. How about sending him our way? We'll show him the Manchester climate, the English grass. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea. According to Spanish sources, Florentino Perez himself is reportedly not against selling Tchouaméni if the player expresses a desire to leave. Now that's interesting. So, Real doesn't seem desperate to sell, but if Aurelien says, I want to join Guardiola, they might just open the door. An intriguing stance, wouldn't you say? On the one hand, they're keeping up appearances, but on the other, they're not exactly clinging on to him. And do you remember how much they paid for him? 80 million euros. And now, just a couple of years later, they're ready to let him go, potentially at a loss. Of course, it's not just City showing interest in Tchouaméni. Liverpool is also looming on the horizon. Arne Slot is probably already drawing up plans for how the Frenchman could fit into his midfield. So here's the big question. What does Tchouaméni himself want? Stay in Madrid and prove his worth? Or head to England for a fresh challenge and perhaps a boost in confidence? Some might say he should stay, he'll come good eventually, while others argue it's time for a change, he'll thrive in England. What do you think, guys? Personally, I believe this could be a great opportunity for Tchouaméni to reboot his career. Under Guardiola at City, he could reach an entirely new level. And here's another point that caught my attention. City's interest in Tchouaméni seems to have sparked after Rodri's injury. Does that mean they see Tchouaméni as a potential replacement? It's flattering, of course, but it also puts a lot of pressure on him. Can he handle the comparison to one of the best defensive midfielders in the world? As they say, he'll have to work like a horse to meet those expectations. And apparently, City is ready to pay around 50 million euros for Tchouaméni. Less than what Real Madrid paid, but still a significant amount. I wonder if Perez will agree to such a discount, or will he hold his ground until the very end? So, what's the takeaway? Manchester City is ready to spend big on Tchouaméni, Real Madrid seems open to selling if the player wants to leave, and Liverpool is lurking in the background. Meanwhile, Tchouaméni himself is at a crossroads. And now, my question to you. How do you think this Tchouaméni saga will end? Will he move to Manchester, stay in Madrid, or possibly end up at Liverpool? Share your thoughts in the comments. PSG, those guys with bottomless pockets, have set their sights on, guess who? The young midfield genius, Pedri. If the rumours are true, Luis Enrique is absolutely obsessed with the idea of bringing Pedri to Paris next summer. Remember how well they worked together with the Spanish national team. Back then, Pedri was absolutely indispensable, and it seems like Lucho hasn't forgotten that. So, the question arises, what's really going on here? Has PSG decided to gather all of Enrique's favourites? Or is this actually part of some grand strategic plan? Word has it that Al Khelaifi fully trusts Enrique, and that means if the coach wants Pedri, then the money for such a deal will almost certainly be found. And what kind of money are we talking about? According to reports, PSG is ready to shell out a whopping 120 million euros for Pedri. What a price tag! I'm sure many of you just whistled in disbelief. And honestly, we had to pick our jaws up off the floor too. And then, of course, poor Barcelona comes to mind with their eternal financial troubles. Laporta, of course, is a cunning guy, and his famous levers have already become a meme, but 120 million euros isn't exactly pocket change. That's some serious cash that could patch up quite a few holes in the Catalans' budget. But here's the real question. Would Barca even consider letting go of their rising star? And, as always, opinions are divided. Some will say that turning down such an offer would be madness, while others will argue that Pedri is the future of the club and under no circumstances should he be sold. So, whose side are you on, by the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your take. But the most interesting part of this whole story is Pedri himself. The guy has repeatedly spoken about his love for Barca and his desire to win trophies in the Blaugrana jersey. And now, enter Luis Enrique with his personal connections. Picture this, the coach you worked so well with calls you up and says, "Forget everything, come here, let's build a top team together." Admit it, turning down an offer like that would be tough, even if you genuinely love your current club. For now though, if we're to believe Pedri's own statements and those of his camp, he's committed to staying at Barcelona. But, as the saying goes, never say never. The transfer market is a circus where literally anything can happen, and, as mentioned earlier, Enrique probably has some sort of ace up his sleeve. What that ace might be remains a mystery for now. Could it be a personal promise to make Pedri a global superstar? Or maybe some financial incentives that are hard to refuse? And you know what's really fascinating? We're all sitting here speculating about what's going to happen next. Will Pedri move to Paris, or will he stay loyal to Barcelona? Can Enrique manage to lure his former star away? And most importantly, what do you think? Would this transfer be a game changer for PSG, or a betrayal on Pedri's part if he decides to make the move? You all know Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, the guy who stirred things up big time in Serie A. Well, there's some buzz that he's packing his bags for France, to PSG no less. Money's not an issue there, as you can imagine. Word has it he's already packing his suitcases, though nothing official has been confirmed just yet. Antonio Conte, it seems, isn't wasting any time. And guess who he reportedly wants to replace the outgoing Kvaratskhelia? Alejandro Garnacho. Yes, the same Argentine winger from Manchester United. What a twist, huh? Honestly, I thought I misheard at first. Garnacho as a replacement for Kvaratskhelia? Let's just say that's a curious choice. But hey, Conte's the expert, and who knows what's going on in that head of his. According to the Italian press, Conte is reportedly very keen on having Garnacho in his squad. Napoli's sporting director, Giovanni Manna, has supposedly started feeling out the possibility of a transfer. Interesting, right? With Manchester United's unconvincing performances and constant financial struggles, it seems they might be open to parting ways with the Argentine. Again, if we're to believe the reports, supposedly the asking price is already set, 50 million euros. There are a few things about this deal that make me skeptical. First, Garnacho isn't exactly shining at United right now. His playing time under Ruben Amorim has noticeably decreased. Second, the playing styles of Garnacho and Kvaratskhelia, well, they're a bit different, don't you think? Kvicha thrives on dribbling, creativity, and sharp passes. Garnacho, speed, aggression, and a more straightforward approach. But again, Conte might have a genius plan we're just not seeing yet. Let's not forget our earlier discussions about Atletico Madrid's interest in Garnacho. It seems the guy's really caught the eye of some top coaches, despite his lack of consistency, to put it mildly. But who knows, maybe Conte is the one who can fully unlock his potential. Time will tell, as they say. Now, what does Garnacho himself think about all this? Is he ready to pack his bags and head to Italy? Or is he still holding on to the dream of cementing his place in United's starting 11? Here's another spicy detail: financial fair play. Manchester United desperately needs cash to comply with those regulations. Selling a homegrown player like Garnacho could bring much more financial benefit than offloading a new signing. It's just business, nothing personal, as they say. And I doubt Garnacho is thrilled about warming the bench. He's already 20. It's time to play, not collect splinters. So the plot thickens. Kvaratskhelia seems to have one foot in Paris, and Conte already envisions Garnacho in his place. Is this some master plan by Conte, or just a desperate move to plug the gap with whoever's available? What do you think? By the way, there's even talk that United offered Garnacho to PSG in exchange for Nuno Mendes. Now that's a circus act if I've ever seen one. It's a complete mess, who's going where and who's trading for whom. Personally, I don't entirely understand Conte's logic, but who am I to argue with the maestro? Let's see how it all pans out. For now, the idea of Garnacho moving to Napoli feels pretty surprising, to say the least. But hey, football's full of surprises. We all know that. What do you think about this? Do you believe Garnacho will make the move to Napoli? Can he really replace Kvaratskhelia? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't hold back. That's all from me for today. Stay tuned to catch the hottest and freshest football news first. See you soon. Have a great day. Cheers.